Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to share this topic with you specifically because I actually wrote a post about this that I shared on Instagram, and I got a ton of feedback on it and questions around it. And so that was super cool because obviously that always tells me that I need to do more around that and talk about it more. It seemed like it was like really a helpful frame for a lot of people. So here we are to have a deeper conversation about that. I want to talk about like the 3 ways that I see a lot of women sabotage themselves. I think this is relevant whether you're newer in business or are scaling. I think it's similar, but I definitely will frame it specifically in terms of scaling, since that's what a lot of my clients are trying to do, what a lot of people come to me for, and what I see happen in a lot of these areas. So we will dive into that. If you're here, say hi. I also happy to answer any questions you have about this as we go. So feel free to let me know. You guys know I sometimes do the best teaching with specific questions or examples. So feel free to keep me posted on that as well. Cool. So I'm going to go through the 3 things kind of one by one and tell you, how they apply, how to fix them, and we'll kind of recap them all at the end. So the first one in terms of ways they're self-sabotaging is thinking everyone knows a secret you don't. If you've followed me for any length of time, you know that one of the things I say all the time is that there is no secret to success, but if there was, it would be to stop thinking that everyone is keeping a secret from you. And I think this is really true at the beginning of your business, but honestly, I think it is really true as you're scaling too, because you almost get to that point where you're like, well, I got here, but maybe I don't know how to get there, and everyone else knows a secret. Like there was really no secret to get here, but there must be one to get there, right? It's so true. Like at the beginning, we have to realize like, oh, there's really no secret. Like I kind of just got to show up, and then we do. And then we get to that next place and we're like, but maybe there is one for going bigger, right? Like, can anyone agree with me? I totally have been there on both sides of that coin, and neither is true. But it is so, so tempting to kind of buy into that idea that there really is something everyone else is doing in business that you're not, or someone must know something that you don't. But like the truth, and I can say this because I've taken multiple clients to the 7-figure mark and beyond at this point, and really, God, I can't even count how many clients to 6 figures, but like I promise you, there isn't a secret except to like keep showing up, keep staying consistent, get out of your own way enough to keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? Like, especially with scaling, that's even maybe more true, right? Where it's like you've figured out what works. The scalable model of that is do it over and over again in more scalable ways. But we get so tripped up sometimes in thinking like there's more. And the absolute biggest way to self-sabotage yourself really is that, because then what happens is you're spending your time, money, energy, effort in chasing that next thing instead of replicating what works over and over and over again, right? So if you've gotten to the point in your business where you're ready to scale, I guarantee you there are things that are fundamentally working in your business. And if you can pay attention to those, chase those, replicate those, use them in bigger, broader ways, that is how you will scale. Like, I cannot stress that enough. Because it is like, how do I want to say it? It's like, if you figure out like whatever in school, you figure out like, if I always write a paper last minute, I do my best, I get my work done, it's great, it's good, and I roll on. And like, then you just replicate that for years and years and years. Or, I don't know, whatever the thing is, like you get really good at a particular sport and then you stay in that sport and you replicate it and you keep playing it for years and years instead of like going and playing 12 different sports and being mediocre at all of them, right? Like, this is what scaling is like. It really, really is. So just want to share that. Belinda, just want to share that perspective because that thinking someone is hiding a secret from you is such a fast way to sabotage your results, your scaling, everything, but also like just fuck your own mindset, right? Because you just keep thinking you don't know enough. And then that translates to so many other things in business where you start losing trust with yourself. You start second guessing what you're teaching clients. It just gets slippery real quick. So no one is hiding a secret from you. And pretty much the secret to scaling is mostly the same secret, except you're doing it bigger, better, with more team, all of that kind of stuff, right? There's certainly more to it. But just like no one told you this one secret that changed everything and immediately made 10K months come flying to you, the same is going to be true with scaling. So if you start chasing that shiny object again there, it's like really easy to not only make it hard to scale, but to sabotage the other stuff that you created that's working. So that's an important one. All right, Belinda said, oh, I totally thought there were secrets and secret sources of funding business. I totally thought everyone's spouse's incomes were being included in the totals. Oh my God, I love that. It's so true though, right? Like we have all of these things in our heads where we're like, people must have all of these secret ways that are doing this. And if I could just get into the club and find out, right? I feel like some of my clients are almost like half disappointed when they hire me to scale their business, because I'm like, okay, cool. So we're pretty much going to like keep doing these 3 things that are working really well, and we're going to do them in a couple other ways. And they're like, wait, that's it? Yeah, that's pretty much it. But it's true. One of my clients the other day, she's doing amazing in business. She just crossed the 500K cash mark last month, just killing it this year. And she said to me on our call, she was like, you know what? It's such a bitch when you realize that pretty much the whole game when you're this far along in business is delegate more and check your mindset more. And I was like, yeah, it's a bitch, right? But it is. And I think that's where you realize like it's mostly on you. Like there's no secret. It's like, how good can you pass things off? How well are you delegating? How much are you replicating the same things? How much are you checking yourself on that and not falling into the trap that there's a secret, right? There's this this Nishiki quote that I really love. I actually just rewrote my all my website copy a few weeks ago, and I literally put it in my website copy because I was like, people need to hear this. This is so true. So the quote is, "They muddy the waters to make it seem deep," and I think that's like the gist of so many things online. Like we're muddying the waters to make it seem deep, so you feel like you need all of this like, you know, support and resources and navigating it. And like what I feel like is just like the biggest core of the way we sabotage ourselves is thinking the water is super deep, right? And getting all worked up about it. And kind of, you know, that's like how a lot of marketers are making money online. This is a side note. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but like making it seem like it's super, super, super complicated. This is how a lot of people are making money. From people who are scaling their business, is they're going, oh, it's so hard, it's so complicated, you need all of these things. And it works because we believe it and we think there's a secret and we show up for it. But when you realize like the water is actually pretty clear and it's not all that deep, yeah, you might not be paying for like a million things, but it really does get easier from there. So no one is hiding a secret from you at the beginning. No one is hiding a secret from you later. Most people are being like giving you their best content. Like I really try to like fully put out there, you know, what I believe and what I teach my clients. It doesn't mean that there's not an epic amount of value in how we personalize that and apply it to them. But in terms of like, is there a secret? There's not like some initiated secret that you're going to get with any coach. It's just not a thing. And so the more you can like wipe the slate clean of thinking that that's true, the easier things get. I don't know. Belinda might have a secret, but I'm kidding. There just really isn't one, right? The secret is what you're hearing from everyone. Show up, be consistent, do the same thing over and over, replicate it, get smarter about how you're selling it, build relationships. Like that's pretty much it, right? Okay, cool. So what to do instead basically is pick one thing, stick to it, do it better and better, right? There are certainly nuances to that. And I'm not trying to say that like there's nothing to strategize about, right? But in terms of the secret is capitalize on what's working, do that, do it better, do it for more people. Like that is literally it. So, you know, hopefully that reminds you that no one has a secret. And like the thing is, especially this, which is like, no one knows what's working super well in your business but you. Right? So to go to someone else and be like, tell me how exactly to scale, give me the secret. Well, the secret for them and what works for them might not be the secret that worked for you, right? Like they might have capitalized on what was working for them. You might have a totally different thing that's working for you that you need to capitalize on. Like I see that in my clients all the time. Like each of them have these specific things that are popping off to make their business grow, that are working really well. Like, one of my clients today, I was talking to her, and like pretty much like every time she's like talked to someone recently, like whether it was a phone call, a connection call, a group program call that she was in, whatever, people are like, I want to hire you, I want to hire you, I want to hire you. And I was like, amazing. We know your thing. Like when you have a conversation with someone, they want to hire you. Like, how are we just scaling your ability to have conversations pretty much, right? But for someone else, it might be totally opposite that. Might be like every time you do a challenge, it works. Great, cool. How are we putting maybe money behind that or ads behind that? Or how are we getting more people in it next time? Like it really is kind of that simple. Claire says, so true. I always say to my clients, you are the secret. Absolutely. Belinda said, oh, I totally have secrets, but they have nothing to do with growth. Belinda, you're a tease. You have to tell us your secrets now. No, I'm kidding. But yes, that's a perfect way to say it. I have the secrets, and they really are not any of the business secrets, right? Okay, so next thing. So the first way we sabotage is thinking someone else is hiding a secret from us. The second way we sabotage, this is a good one. I feel like it triggers people sometimes. They hear me out. Before you judge, hear me explain it. But it's hoping someone else will hold you accountable. This is such a trap, okay? And it is specifically a trap as it relates to scaling, because hoping someone will hold you accountable is not 6- and 7-figure business energy. Like my clients that are CEOs of the 7-figure businesses are never thinking like, I wish someone would hold me accountable. That's not a thing. Like, that's not that energy. Just like if you were the CEO of another big company or whatever, like you wouldn't be like, yeah, but who's going to hold me accountable to do my work today? No one is the answer to that, right? You. Claire says, yes, meaning they need to work on self-belief, their own, and own their strengths and values. Completely agree. Yeah. Okay. So with the accountability thing, right? I think that just becomes a trap, because it's almost like if you think like, well, I'll get better results if someone holds me accountable, maybe temporarily, but two things are true there. One is you basically have a boss, right? You like, you don't have a coach, you have a boss. It's like, but are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And two, it doesn't teach you how to embody that CEO energy, that, you know, scaling energy, that like, I can hold space for more people and more things. Frankly, it makes you not trust yourself, because you're always trusting that outside person to create that accountability for you, right? So the thing here is that if you can really, like, here's what I tell my clients. I tell my clients that the minimum they can do for themselves is hold themselves accountable to reach out for support when they need it. Okay. So that doesn't mean like I'm never going to say to them like, hey, checking in on this thing that you said we were going to have done by this week. Where are we with that? Right. But fundamentally, like their job, and what I tell them all the time is like, the onus is on you to tell me when you need support. That is the bare minimum you can commit to for yourself, right? Because all my clients have, 24/7 access to Basecamp, but I can't read their minds. I don't know what's happening in their business. Like they have to tell me like, hey, I'm really having a hard time this week and not showing up in the ways that I said I was going to, or whatever. But for me to check in every day and be like, did you show up? Did you show up? Like that's a boss. That's not a support that's getting you to 7 figures. Certainly, again, there are pieces of that. So like if a client said to me like, hey, I like really need support in owning my greatness more, then cool, I might have a daily base camp check-in that reminds them like, what are you taking ownership of today? What are you celebrating today? Whatever, like that's fine. I'm not necessarily against like checkpoints, but the idea, the thought that like I will do better in my business if someone holds me accountable is an absolute trap. It's especially a trap with scaling because if you don't trust yourself to bare minimum show up, the idea of letting more people, more income, more responsibility, more team into your business is going to be the biggest mindfuck and create so much resistance for you because you're still relying on outside accountability, right? Or outside, like, did you get it done kind of shit to grow. And if you want to grow more, like you have to start relying on your own ability to at least show up and ask when you need help. That's going to be true of team too. My team can't read my fucking mind. I still have to show up and be like, this is what I need. This is what we're doing. This is our vision. This is what we're moving toward. That is always, always on us as the business owner, right? If you are looking for a coach who's going to be like, hey, checking in. Did you get this done? I'm holding you accountable. Da, 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 da. Like, you're missing the point, which is to have your power back, right? So having your power back doesn't look like you never get support, you never ask for help, but it looks like that's on you to be like, I notice how I keep not sending this email and I need support around that. That's CEO shit. I notice how I'm putting off this launch because I'm really scared. That's CEO shit, right? Can you remind me tomorrow that I'm supposed to send this email? Is not. Do you see what I mean there and what the difference is, right? Hi, Maggie. Maggie says co-signed. Belinda says you can't possibly build your business just for your coach's approval. It's not sustainable. Ooh, Belinda. Truth bomb, right? And I think, you know, that's true of all of it. Like you left corporate because you didn't want that boss, that check-in, that accountability. And so if you try to translate that here, it might get you to a certain point in your business, but one, you're going to be really dependent on that coach, which is obviously not the goal. And two, again, you're going to be in so much resistance to scaling. Okay. So again, this is not like a don't get support or never have a check-in. That's not what that is, right? But it is stop thinking that if someone else is on your ass, that that's what's going to get you in gear to scale. It's not ever at all. Knowing that you have the space to ask for support, whether that's from a coach or team or whatever that is, knowing that you trust yourself to show up for that is so crucial. I promise you, hands down, the clients that I see that grow and scale and get results fast are because they're taking full ownership of that. They're holding themselves accountable. And then they're coming to me going, hey, here's what I need from you for support. Here's what I'm struggling with right now, right? But they're holding that accountability for themselves to, at the very least, ask team for help, ask me for help, right? That is just an absolute non-negotiable. I also see people do this with OBMs. Like they'll look for their OBM to kind of hold them accountable, almost like, well, tell me what I'm supposed to do and when, and then I'll show up for it. No, no. That's on you, right? Like my OBM might give me like a due date on something or whatever because she needs it by that date to get it out, but that's not to hold me accountable. That's for our process. Like again, it is on me. No one else should be holding you accountable in your business. If you want to scale to 6 and 7 figures, like the onus is on you, right? Maggie says, hi, yes, and this is the same in marriage. I say it's like hanging your happiness on your husband's mood. Here it's like hanging your success on your coach's mood, availability, brain instead of your own brain and highest inner wisdom. Beautiful, Maggie. So true. And I think you're so spot on there too about like the mood thing, because like with a coach, like if they have a busy week or they, you know, whatever, they don't check in with you every day, are you really going to be like, well, my coach didn't remind me to send that email? Maybe, but that's not ever what a 7-figure business owner is going to do. Like, it's almost funny to think of my clients that are like at that place being like, hey, can you hold me accountable to do this thing. Like that's just not a thing. They're thinking about it different. It's like that client I mentioned earlier that was like, oh my gosh, it's just about delegating to team and keeping my mindset in check. She knows that it's on her to delegate to team, and she knows that it's on her to come to me with her mindset shit to keep it in check. I can't be like, hi, did you have a mindset thing today? That doesn't help her or me, quite honestly. That manufactures it in a way that's like not at all useful for her ultimate growth or her own empowerment, right? So that's a whole thing. But basically, like what to do instead is figure out how to hold yourself accountable for, at the very least, asking for support and catching yourself in those moments that you're pulling back or sabotaging it. That's not to say you need to fix it all on your own, but it is to say the bare minimum is I'm going to be accountable to ask for support when I need it, right? And Maggie, I would imagine like, you know, same is true for you. Was it today? I think it was this morning. We shared a podcast. I was on Maggie's podcast and I was talking about working with Maggie as a coach. And like the same was true there. Maggie wasn't like checking in and being like, did you do that thing I said that, you know, I told you to do, or did you read that book I told you to read, or did you, you know, have that conversation I wanted you to have? Like, no. But if I needed something, I could go to her and be like, hey, I'm really struggling to have this conversation we talked about having. Like, here's what I need your support around. Like, those are very different things. And I think that, you know, sometimes we get that confused. We think accountability is the thing that will push us. And what I have found with myself and my clients, accountability isn't the thing. Being able to go get your needs met from support is the thing, because that is an absolute requirement at 6, 7 figures, is you have to ask for support. You cannot hold that on your own. I could not run a lit up life on my own. So getting practice at asking for support and being clear about that versus feeling like you need accountability is so crucial. Cool. Belinda, thank you. Belinda said the podcast interview is so good. I'll put a link in here afterward. It's not related to business, but it was great. If you want to hear about my own relationship coaching experience, you can listen. I thought it was really good too, but I think the principles do apply in many ways. Okay. So the last one, this is my favorite one. The last one is making yourself wrong all the time. So I feel like this is one of the biggest ones I see in terms of self-sabotage. It's also one of the biggest ones I see in terms of like when I see a difference for clients in their own results. So I'm sure I've said this in here before. I know I've said it on Happy Thoughts, but I was asked on a podcast a little while ago, like, what do you think was or is the biggest impactor of your own success? And I answered, like, I just never make myself wrong. And honestly, that's true. Like, that is true. I didn't even think about it that much when I answered it, but the more I've thought about it in retrospect, it's really true. Like, I have really found a way to separate out what's happening in my business from personally what is true about Lacey, right? But so many of us find that really, really hard to do. Like if something happens in the business, we make it mean a lot about us. It means I suck, or I'll never be successful, or I'm bad at whatever, communicating with people, or I'm bad at marketing, or whatever that is, right? Versus being like, this is just a thing happening in the business, right? This is just a thing outside of who I am, what my worth is, all of that kind of stuff happening in the business. If you can fully pay attention to that when you're making something about the business mean something about you, and really stop making yourself wrong for that, it is so much faster to grow. Like this is where you can run and, you know, like fly, so to speak. I think I have that post you made in my head, Belinda, fly, where you can fly at different results because you're not so scared of the consequence on the other side. So where I see a lot of my clients slow themselves down is that they're so scared of like what's on the other side if they don't get the result, hit the goal, whatever, right? They're like, then I'm going to like be so upset with myself. I know I'm going to beat myself up. I know if I don't do this thing or get this result that I'm going to just be miserable about it. So you hold yourself back because you know there's such a price to pay on the other side. If you're like, whatever. I'm learning, I'm testing, I'm tweaking, I'm running at it. And no matter what, over here, I'm good, I'm worthy, I'm enough. It's all good as a human. All the stuff over here means less. You test something, you try it, it works, it doesn't, and it means data. It doesn't mean self-deprecation, right? It's just so different. Oh, yay. Thank you, Maggie. Maggie says, I used to do this. And when you were coaching me, I feel like you tattooed this on my brain. Don't make the past wrong just because you are choosing something different now. Thank you, by the way. Oh, I love that, Maggie. You're so welcome. Belinda said, when I started, I never made myself correct. Changing that has changed my business, right? I love that you two are saying this because I really think this is the biggest impactor as well. I think I had a really big head start on this because a lot of my mom's side of the family, pretty much all her siblings, almost all her siblings, and my grandfather are entrepreneurs and own their own business for a long time. So when I started my first business and then my second business, they were basically like, don't expect to make money for, or profit, I guess. Don't expect to make profit for at least 2 to 3 years, right? Because they all were kind of in the more like brick and mortar kind of phase. Like none of them, I guess one of them, anyway, none of them really had like built a business in this way. So, like my, I remember my uncle just saying like, it's going to take like 3 years. And at the time I was like, well, I don't really want it to take 3 years. I'm kind of not available for that. So I'm glad that I wasn't available for that. But my point in sharing that is it was like very normalized, I think, for me, that like, it's okay to not like make a ton of money really quick. That doesn't mean anything about you. This is just like the course of business and what business looks like. So I think I had like a real head start on kind of like coming into business with that frame or with that mindset of like, oh yeah, like it just takes time and it's just a thing and you just show up and you figure it out along the way and it doesn't mean anything. So that has really, really, really served me. And I think it's one of the reasons I got results super quickly in my own business because I really wasn't in expectation of that. And I didn't feel like there was going to be a price to pay if I didn't, you know what I mean? Very happy it didn't take me 3 years to turn a profit, but it still was really useful. And so that's just something I cannot recommend enough. Like I really feel that as like the turning point for a lot of my clients, because if you're making yourself wrong, everything in business feels hard. It really messes with your mindset and it really, really makes it difficult to take more action, to test more things, to tweak more things. Like when a lot of people ask me like how I've been able to do innovative things and try different things, that is literally why, because I know I'm not going to beat myself up on the other side of it. I wrote a post recently. I don't think I've shared it yet. This is the beauty of like doing things way in advance, but it's also like, oh, I want that to be out there. But I wrote a post and I was saying like, you can fuck up without fucking yourself up, right? So like you can fuck up in your business without completely fucking your mindset up. Like there have been plenty of things I did in my business that weren't right or weren't perfect or didn't work out or that I could have done a lot better or that I messed up or whatever, but I'm just not going to fuck myself up over it. Like I'm going to just be like, oh, that was interesting. Cool. Next. Right. One of my friends, her name's Katie DePaulo. She runs Inner Glow Circle, which is an amazing company. And one way she describes it that I've always really, really loved is she says like, I'm in business school. So she's like, when I fuck up, I'm in business school. When I make the wrong decision, I'm in business school. When I learn something that I didn't know 3 weeks ago that would have been helpful, I'm in business school. And I have really thought and found that to be such a fucking genius thought, because that really is what you're doing in business school. You're kind of like studying how all these companies did great or fucked up. And so when you're doing it in your own business, obviously it's a little harder to take, but if you can frame it through that lens of like, I'm in business school, it's fine. Which we all are, by the way, right? I think it just gets so much easier instead of like, I am now someone who fucks up. I am someone who's bad at this. I am someone who, no, you're in business school, learning, growing, right? And again, when you take that mindset, it's easy to move fast at stuff because you're not worried about screwing it up or what that's going to mean, for you personally. It's easy to try innovative things. It's easy to, basically like sprint. at a goal. Where you kind of like crawl at the goal is when there's a price to pay on the other side of everything that you try, right? Yeah, Belinda said she needed an advance, a mindset advance. So good. Yes, Maggie is so right too, because it's also detachment, right? When you think every piece of what happens is making you wrong, it's also a huge attachment that comes with it. Like there's so much meaning built up behind it. Instead of like, I'm in business school, right? And I think like, obviously there are so many things wrong with the corporate space, and that's why we got out of it. But I think we're just less likely to do that there. Like if I like made an error on a piece of paperwork or whatever in my job, I'm like, well, whatever, that was a stupid instruction, or it's fine, it's no big deal. Like we're so much quicker to kind of like roll those things off. We take it so personally when it's us. But something I really, really work on with like so many of my like high achiever, high performing clients is separating yourself out from the business. This is something I feel like I talk to almost everyone about, separating out yourself from the results, because it's so easy as a high performer and a high achiever to take all of that so personally, so seriously. But it's also like the biggest trap. It makes you super attached. It makes you super, what's the word I'm looking for? Timid in moving forward. It makes it feel like everything has so much weight in your business. Like if someone says yes or no, it's so heavy, right? What I make this month, what I make this year, what happens next week, like all of it has so much intensity around it. And when you're like, I'm good, I'm in business school, my like personal self-worth and opinion is not tied to this business, so much easier. Stop making yourself wrong. Every time you make a mistake in your business, if you can find a way to be like, no, but like that was right. Here's why I did that. I would do that again, knowing the same thing I know, but now I've learned something different. And like, that's been so true for me in business. I can look back and see all of these ways where I would have made a different decision knowing what I know now. But like, that's life, right? Like, I mean, that's like, that is a losing game. But if I can find a way to make myself right in every situation, like, well, I did try really hard at that. I did show up the best I could there. I did the best I could with that circumstance. I handled that in the way that I could at the moment. I'm really proud that I kept showing up no matter what. Like if you can find those reframes, everything gets easier. I was actually talking to someone today, and they had been in business for 6 years, right? And she was saying to me, like, you know, I just feel like I should be further along at this point for where I am in business. And I was saying to her, like, well, I mean, you've been in business for yourself for 6 years. Like, tell me about that. Like, what does that look like? And she was like, well, I've pivoted, you know, a lot and done different things. And this was not a client. This was someone that I was giving a session to for something else. And so she was explaining all this to me, right? And I was like, do you know that 85% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years? Like, how are we not making you right? Like, how are we not thinking this is fucking awesome? Like, you were able to maintain working for yourself for 6 years, plus you gave yourself the permission to pivot, plus you've tried new things, and all of that you were able to sustain yourself, stay in business, grow, and find the thing you love. Like, from where I'm sitting, like, you are doing a fucking epic job, right? And she was like, oh, I hadn't really thought about it like that at all. So that was like super cool to see, where it's like it's just always a frame we're picking, right? We can be like, I should be further along. I should have done this. I should do this differently. Or we can be like, oh my God, like the fact that I've like stayed in it is amazing. The fact that I'm still here, I'm making myself right for. Like most people don't do that. 85% fail within the first 5 years. Like how amazing is that? So anyway, that's just like a little bit of an example, but do you see how the making yourself wrong makes you so timid, so unsure of the next strategy, so cautious of the next decision? Or you're like, I've been able to maintain being in business for myself for 6 years. Like I pretty much can't fuck it up at this point. Let's roll. That's when you're like, okay, like, let me try all these things. Let me run at this. Let me do this. Let me innovate with this, right? When you're like, oh my God, I've really messed it up these last few years, like totally didn't make the right decisions here and there. I should really be cautious. I should really think everything through. I should really, no, right? Do you see how different that is? So Anyway, that's just another way that we kind of self-sabotage. So let me kind of give you the frame there of what to do instead. Like, I definitely love how Katie says, I'm in business school. I would play with that. I would be doing mindset work daily. I mean, right? Mindset work is just picking the frame. And that example I just gave is picking that frame, right? And I would be getting support to remind you that you're separate from your business, whether that's a coach, a business friend, a mastermind, whatever that is. Who can remind you that you are good and that you are just learning in business, and that it's going to feel like, you know, bumpy along the way sometimes, especially as you're growing, especially as you're scaling. There's more people, there's more responsibility, there's more literal humans around you that you're serving, there's more money coming in, there's like all this stuff that you can make yourself wrong about constantly if you want to. But having that daily mindset practice, having those people to remind you that you are separate from those things is absolutely crucial in feeling like you can move forward faster. So that's that. I'm going to go over these one more time. So the three things. The first one was thinking everyone knows a secret you don't, hoping someone will hold you accountable, and making yourself wrong all the time, right? And if you can shift those things, and if you can notice that sabotage in yourself, you will be so surprised at how fast you can move forward. If you aren't catching those things and you really find yourself in a lot of those loops of like making yourself wrong, wanting more, you know, accountability, or thinking that other people know something, you're gonna stay stuck for longer. And again, this is true whether you're scaling further along or even at the beginning. So that's that. Lori Ann, hi. She says yes to the mindset. Belinda says always make yourself right as a person. 100%. Not the easiest thing. Definitely hard. You can hire Belinda if you need help with that. But is the base of all this. And I think that's why, like, so often we say like business is the best personal development exercise, because it kind of forces you to look at a lot of those things, right? So I really hope that was helpful. I really believe that mindset is kind of like the underpinning of all of this and the key to it. But then the simplicity of the strategy that we talked about earlier makes all of that work. And then when you aren't making yourself wrong, look at how much easier it is to execute. So definitely mindset, strategy, and execution related as well. That's all I got, guys. If you want help with this, you can get on my one-on-one waitlist. It's lituplife.com/waitlist. We are full right now for 2020, but we are taking a waitlist for 2021. And if you are on there, you get to ask me questions every month, and I record video answers. And you can also check out answers from all last month. So today I answered 4 questions that are going out to our waitlisters soon. And like, it's cool because they're able to get a lot more specific in their asks. So it's a lot of specific ways to think about things, really specific strategies and things like that, since they are able to ask and submit those questions. It's anonymous, so don't worry about that. I think that's it. If you want to be part of that, lituplife.com/waitlist. I think I was going to say something. I know what I was going to say. If you want to be part of the waitlist, that's how you get to submit questions each month. So sign up for the waitlist, then we'll send you something to tell you how to access the answers, how to submit questions. So those are tied together. I don't know if I was clear about that. So lituplife.com/waitlist, and basically do mindset work this week. That's pretty much the gist. All right. I love you guys. Thank you, Olga. Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. And if you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. And I appreciate you all. And I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye, guys.